Welcome to the Brass and Woodwind Shop. I was hoping to have the last of the Cornet restoration videos done this week, but it turns out it's going to be next week. So this week I'm going to start the next restoration project, which is a Herald trumpet. When I was in college learning how to fix instruments, I was always known as the guy who likes the unusual instruments. One of the students came up to me and said that he had an odd instrument. He didn't know what it was. So he opened up the case and showed it to me, and I said, "Oh cool, it's a Herald trumpet. I've always wanted one of those." He told me that his local band director had 3 of them for sale, so I bought all 3 of them. Of course, all the trumpet players at college wanted to play them, so we had a lot of fun with these things. Different Herald trumpets are made different ways. This one was made by Con, and you can see that the tubing does not go straight through. It goes down and then around and up. If you compare it to a regular B-flat trumpet, it's almost double the size. I have one of these Herald trumpets hanging in my shop next to all my tools, and on occasion I rent these out if someone wants to play them for a fanfare or something like that. About 10 years ago, someone called and they said that they ran into a whole bunch of instruments at an old school that they were turning into a nursing home. They asked me if I'd be interested in buying them, and of course I was interested. So I headed up about 3 hours north and I looked at the instruments and I bought all of them. There were some good instruments, but most of them were in very bad shape. And one of them was this case right here. I opened up the case and I was happy to see the bell section, but I felt really bad that it was missing the valve section. A few weeks later, I noticed that there was another compartment down here, and I opened it up, and much to my delight, there was a valve section in there. This Herald trumpet does not have any curves in the tubings other than in the valve slides. It goes straight through, and you tune it by pulling the bell in and out. There's a screw to tighten up the bell so that it doesn't come out while you're playing it. This Herald trumpet is about 3 times longer than a regular B-flat trumpet, and it's about as long as you can get for a B-flat trumpet. Along with that same pile of instruments, I got another Herald trumpet bell. The only problem, it was bent, and it does not have a valve section with it. I'm going to straighten this bell, and I'm also going to make a valve section for it. The engraving on the bell says, "Studio model, made by F.E. Olds & Son, Fullerton, California." It also has a 2-tone bell. This part is made out of brass, and then the bell flare and the bell rim are made out of nickel silver, which has the silver color. And I found these 3 instruments made by Olds. I'm going to take these 3 instruments and turn them into a valve section for the Herald trumpet. These instruments are missing a lot of parts, but there are almost enough parts to make an entire valve section. The only parts that these instruments do not have are the finger rings, and I have one of these. This is smaller, and I have that one in stock. This one is a little larger because it's for the thumb, so I did order one. This is actually from a Jupiter baritone, but it will work, and it's about the same size. And then there were a couple braces that were missing here and here, and they aren't similar to the other instruments. So I bought those from Allied, and I'm going to put those on the instrument. Also, this tube is a lot longer than the tuning slide. It's the same diameter, but a lot longer. So what I needed to do is buy a tube from Allied, and this is about 3 feet long, and it's plenty long. I'm going to cut off what I need, and then I'll have this tube for the instrument. Then the only thing that will be missing is this collar and the screw to tighten up the bell section. But I have the screw and I can make a collar for that. That is not that hard to make. This cornet has a decent valve section, but it's missing the bell. It got ripped off. I do not know how that happened. It happened before I got it. But I can use most of the valve section. It is missing the valve caps. Also, sometime in the past, somebody switched the second valve for a trumpet valve. And the only difference between the cornet valve section and the trumpet valve section is that the cornet valve section is longer. The trumpet valve will fit in there. It's the same diameter, but it's not as long. So I'm going to use the second valve from this cornet to replace this one here. Herald trumpets are hard to hold on to because there's so much weight out in front. So the longer valve section on the cornet valves will give you more room to hold on to, which will probably make it easier to hold on to the instrument. I pulled out the valves and you can see that the trumpet valve that was put into there is a lot shorter than the cornet valves. When I pulled the valves out, I noticed this is a second valve, so I'll actually need a first valve for this instrument. The valve is going to come from this instrument, so that one is stuck in there. I'll have to get that one out. I'll take the valve cap off, and then I'm going to try to tap it out with a dowel and a rawhide mallet. Okay, it's coming out slowly. Let's see, yeah, still needs to be tapped, not ready to come out yet. I do not know why the valve is stuck yet, but I'm hoping it's usable. I will try it out to see if it works. Well, it's not working well. I'll take a look at it and see if I can figure it out. Oh, there's a... looks like there was some damage there on it. So I'm guessing the valve is probably out of round. There is a little bit of damage on the valve right there, and I'm guessing the valve is probably out of round, but that is most likely fixable. It'll be a little bit of work, but the valve should be fine when it's done. I'm guessing what happened is that somebody probably put something through that hole right there and damaged the valve. Now I'm going to get all the parts I need for the valve section. I have the 3 valves here, but I'm missing 3 finger buttons, 1 upper valve cap, and then 3 lower valve caps. Actually, I have one right here, so I'm missing 2 of those. So I'll get the lower valve caps, if I can get those off of there. I'm going to use my soft-jawed pliers to get those unstuck. And I usually start with the middle one, and the reason why is because the valve cap protects the threadings on the other valve. So I'm going to be careful with this one. And there, that's loose. Usually they pop right off with the pliers. Sometimes they're a little harder and you need to do a little more work to get them off, but usually they come right off. I think that is the last part I'm going to need from this cornet, so I'll put that off to the side. And let's see, I need an upper valve cap, or a top valve cap. I'll get that off of there. And then there's a 1 finger button. I'm going to get the last 2 finger buttons off of this trumpet. There are no valves in there. It looks like someone put vegetable oil on these valves, and it probably caused a lot of problems and caused it to be damaged. You can tell because it has some, kind of like a creamish clear flaky stuff that's kind of gooey on it. And I did a video on this. It's one of the first videos I ever did, and it's on how to get out valves that have vegetable oil on there. So if you want to watch that video, I'll put the link in the description below. So there are all the valve parts that I'm going to need. If you're wondering why this trumpet was turned into a parts instrument, it's because sometime in the past somebody did some serious damage on that knuckle, and then right here this knuckle is pulled away from the casing, and someone tried to fix it with epoxy, and they also tried to fix this with epoxy too. But that was damaged almost beyond repair, and I imagine that these casings are probably severely warped also. That damage may have occurred when someone tried to pull the valves out, and the valves are very stuck when you get vegetable oil dried onto there, and there is a way to get those out, but it's not by pulling. That's my guess why this instrument was turned into a parts instrument. From this trumpet I used the 2 finger buttons. I'm also going to use the lead pipe. I put the wooden assembly mandrel in the vise, and that holds the instruments out in the open so that you can work on them easier. I have 4 solder joints to pull off to get the lead pipe off of here. I put the mouthpiece in here so that I have a little bit of leverage, and also it protects my hand from the heat. And what I'm going to do, here I'll turn this so you can, I'll turn that so you can see it a little better. I'm going to, there, pull that off, and I keep pressure on this, so as soon as the solder hits 450 degrees, it pops, and then like that, then I know it's off. Sometimes the solder bridges though, so you need to make sure that it's loose. Okay, that's good. And you need to make sure that it's loose when it dries or hardens. So there's one more, actually 2 more solder joints, but they should come off almost together. Okay, one more. And I might lose the finger hook. Sometimes that pops off, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, come on, get out of there. There we go. There, now I have the lead pipe off. The wooden assembly mandrel will not work too well for this cornet, so I'm going to take that out of the vise, and I'm going to use a slide expander. And I'm not using it to expand the slide, I'm just using it to hold the cornet while I solder with it. I don't usually use a slide expander to expand slides. I do on rare occasions, but normally I use it to hold instruments. I need to pull off the lead pipe, what remains of the belt, and then a few of the braces. There are several solder joints I'm going to need to unsolder for this cornet. However, this one was already unsoldered. It broke earlier, so I don't need to do that. So this is not that hard of a job. It actually goes very quickly usually. A lot of people are scared of soldering, and I can kind of understand why on the one hand, but on the other hand it's not nearly as hard as you would think. But you do have to be careful because you don't want to get hurt doing it. Let's see, why is that one not coming off? Okay. I think these two braces here are holding this together. So I'm going to take those off. I may just need to heat up these three to temperature all at the same time. Sometimes you need to do that. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to unsolder this right here because that needs to come off anyway. That may make my job a little easier. There we go. Okay, well, anyway. It will come off eventually. The valves, the casings have a little more mass to them, so it takes a little longer to heat those up to temperature. Come on, there we go. And okay. There, I got that section off. Well, almost off. I don't want to touch it right now because it's still hot. At least parts of it are hot. There we go. I have a few more braces I need to remove. So I'm going to heat that up to temperature, and when it's up to temperature I'm going to grab it with the rag. The t-shirt keeps your hands from getting burned, and I fold it over so that it's at least 4 t-shirt materials thick, and that works just as long as you don't hold the part for too long. Now I have to take off this little section of tubing. To get a little more leverage, I'm going to put the tuning slide into there, and that will give me something to hold on to. And I'm going to probably need to heat up both of these to temperature before they'll come loose. The valve casing has a lot more mass, so it takes a lot longer for these ones to heat up to temperature. And they have to get heated up to 450 degrees. There we go. And once they get up to 450, the solder melts and it lets them loose. And if you take the heat away as soon as the joint pops, then it will not be overheated. Okay, this one should be coming loose soon. Oh, it's already loose on the other side. Okay, now I'm going to pull that up. There we go. I just have the bell section to take off, or what's left of it. Olds has some interesting braces, and they're the only instrument I know of, or manufacturer I know of, that does it this way. They have a brace that goes from the bell to the lead pipe, and in the middle it's attached to the valve casing. So I have to take those off in order to get the bell off. There, that one is off, and there's another one right here. There it goes. This should be the Herald Trumpet in its entirety. I just have to put the pieces together and do a few repairs along the way, and then I will have a Herald Trumpet. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please subscribe for more band instrument repair videos, and also look in the description below for links to related videos.